Oh, what are you doing there, Ninj?
Just get me back, limbered up, mate.
Oh, there's some trippy looking underwear you got there.
You like them?
Got the knobbies.
Yeah.
It's looking good.
Yeah. Me knobbies, swimwear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can move really well in them.
Swimwear,
mate.
you say? Underwear and swimwear?
I reckon they're swimwear.
Oh, yeah?
I swim in them.
Yeah, right.
What do you reckon?
Alrighty,
What do we
so
do?
Elliot here from MMT. I'm here to talk about assessment for low back pain. And so let's have a look at some of our anatomy here. Oh, what's this? Pecs on the beach. This is the calendar 2025 calendar we've got here with the knobbies.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that it's a bit into the future, but you can still buy one. They're collector's items. Our old calendar as well, you can even get that one. 2024 calendar, you can still buy that too. Buy it for your collection, you know, put them up on your wall, look at the pictures, they're bloody great. Look at that bloke.
Some fit blokes there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So yeah, have a look at our links to how you can access that. Also the discount code as well for the knobbies. Alrighty, so let's get into it. So when we're talking about back pain, everyone knows someone who's had back pain. You've probably had back pain yourself as well. And so it's a bit of a mystery for some people. For some people, it's a lifelong thing that they have to deal with. So we want to be able to measure how bad the problem is, so when we're working on improving it, we can see those things improve. Alrighty, so movement is one way we can do that, and a thing that most people complain about when they've got back problems is they have trouble bending. So what does that mean? Being able to reach down towards the floor. So we've got the spine model here, we've got the actual bending of the spine, and then we've also got movement of our pelvis, so the pelvis ability to move down. So watch Ninj there as he goes to bend down towards the floor. All right, we've got hinging through the hips, we've got bending through the back there, but if you watch as he reaches down towards the floor like how you would in day-to-day, how much of that movement happens through the hips there, through that pelvis? Okay, so bending forward, even when we've got back pain there, can be impacted by just the person's ability, not just in their spine, but also in their pelvis and in their hips to go into that flexion movement. Okay. So what's the opposite of flexion? It's extension, bending backwards. Okay, so being able to move the spine in that backward position. You can see when I do that, if the spine only moves here, it starts to compress on this side. So what can also happen to go backwards is posterior tilting, being able to tilt the pelvis this way. Let's see if Ninja can do this one. It's a little bit trickier to do. So you'll see some movement happening through there, a lot of it's happening through there. And so a person's ability to bend backwards is not only just the spine's ability to go this way, but the pelvis's ability to go that way as well. So if you've got some tight quads or tight hip flexors, that can pull you into that anterior tilt and make it hard for you to really get that back bending going nicely there. All right, moving forward, we've got lateral tilting, so bending sideways. Again, the spine itself can stretch to the side like that, and the pelvis as well can also tilt to move. So watch Ninja go for a side bend, going up towards the side there. And again, you can see there's that curve in his spine as it's tilting to the side there, but also his pelvis, if you watch the knobbies there, that line has now tilted as well. So that's showing how much that pelvis is now moving. Come back to the middle there, Ninj. That's nice and flat, tilting out to the side.
You say?
Yep, same again. You can see that side start to rise up there, that's coming up. This is tilting as well. Okay, coming back to the middle. So why is that important is that if someone's having a problem bending sideways, going this way, there could be a problem in the spine, it could be a problem in the muscles there. It could also be a problem of the pelvis's ability to go sideways too. Yeah, if that pelvis isn't able to go like that, it's frozen in place, that person's only going to be able to achieve only so much movement before their body gets locked up. So if they can start to move more, they can get the whole structure to move more freely. And the last one that we generally like to look at is rotation. Most people don't have much of a problem with this one, but every now and then you do get it. So in standing, it's being able to turn and look around and holding that there. Good. And then going the other way. Good. So when we're moving freely and feeling good, we should be able to access each side pretty evenly. Being able to look behind us as well, pretty much turn our whole body, keeping our feet in place, and going the other way as well, evenly. And so it's a combination of movements, as you can see. You've got hips rotating, you've got the pelvis riding along with that motion of the hips there. Then you've got the torso here in the abdominal region twisting here. You've got the rib cage rotating, shoulder blades and the shoulders as well. So all of them adding up there allows you to turn that way. Okay, so if you do want to take something out of the equation there and want to assess a bit more locally, you can do it seated. So we'll just get you to sit there, Ninja. And so we'll continue on from rotation here. This is where we do the sort of fold arms there. And when you get someone to do this or you do this yourself, just be kind of relaxed. Don't be putting yourself bolt straight. Just nice and relaxed. How far can you turn and look behind you? Okay, so when you're assessing this or you're trying to check it on yourself, you're thinking about how much you can face and look behind you. You're thinking about how much that sternum has turned from the front. And when I'm watching someone as well and trying to analyze their movement, I'm looking for where their shoulders have turned, but looking further down, we can see the rib cage also rotate, and we can see the abdomen, the abdominal region here also move and rotate as well. Then you go down to the pelvis, so even though that pelvis is now fixed there, there's still some movement happening there, which is natural. We're not robots, we're not fixed in. So that leg would move forward, whereas this leg would move slightly back. Okay, so if we go back to the middle there, we can see that motion happen again. Just do it as you would normally doing. You can see that movement there. Okay. So in some cases, some people might have some trouble twisting and turning and they're getting some locking in their back, but sometimes they're actually quite locked up in their hips when they're seated. So if their pelvis is really stiff on one side and locked up, maybe they've got an injury, maybe they've got some issues there, that can impede the person's ability to turn. Okay, so we want to have a bit of a zoom out and take it all in to understand what might be going on there. So moving forward there, we can still test while we're in a seated position as well. Maybe the standing's quite uncomfortable. So we can do a seated forward bend, and this is when we ask someone to bend forward. So that's one way we can do it. Okay, again, watching that hip flexion range, so how much Ninja's able to bend through here, and that lumbar and thoracic flexion, so how much we can bend through there. And this is a good movement to see because you can see how we can get long through these areas, right? When there's an issue, we might not be able to travel so far, so we can measure that as well. So just come on up there an inch. So when someone's a bit more in pain or a bit more restricted, they might not be able to go so far. So sometimes I ask them to place your hands on your thighs. So just pop your thighs like that and slide them down towards where you want to go. And you can ask them to stop if they felt any pain. So they might say, oh, I start to feel a bit of a pull or a catch there. And that's where you can measure. You can say, oh, your fingertips are now reaching halfway down your shins. So then if you do an exercise, you do a treatment, and then you see that goes further, even though they might still have some pain there, you can see how much that might have improved, and that lets you know you're on the right track. So a good way to check that is that nice stable position, keeping those hands to support, sliding down. If they're improving and getting pretty good and they might be feeling a bit more pain on one side, you can test one side as well. So you get both hands on one leg and slide down the outside of that leg. Okay, and so here we can see a combination of rotation, lateral flexion and flexion as well. So combined movement, showing some nice length of this side, being able to release and go forward, come on up from there, and seeing if that's even compared to the other side as well. Good one.
Good stretch as well.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where do you feel the stretch when you do that?
Right through the lats, I reckon. Lats and the QL, that's for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, right through here and then down into the lower back.
So if you've seen some of my other videos on assessment, what do we say? The side that's opening is where we do want to feel the stretch. So we can see this is opening, QL, lats, maybe a bit of serratus up here, maybe a bit of the shoulder up here as well, but all this is getting some nice length. If you're doing a bit of body work on someone as well, this can be another way to treat them and actually work a dynamic release and see that open up as well. Okie dokie. There's a few more I want to go through, but we're just going to get onto the table here. So this is going to be a nice position to get Ninja into. We're going to go all fours.
All four, all right.
All fours.
Yep.
Okay. So if someone's not too irritable in their back there, but they are getting some stiffness, and you want to work into some of the tissues of their glutes or into their low back there and really open it up there, you can go test the movement of a child's pose. So in yoga, where they go to sit down on your heels, it's like a prayer position, and again, going for that opening stretch there. Okay, so it's another position we can test someone in. It's also another position we can do a dynamic treatment release in if we want to really get targeted. Okay, and you can see where the lumbar erectors are really getting to length there. You can see the glutes would also stretch when we move into this position. Very nice position to get some people into to open up these spaces. Most likely for people with very archy backs, so if their backs have got that anterior tilt, a lot of compression in there, they have some trouble standing for long periods of time because that compression's building up. This is a good way to open and decompress. We can assess their flexibility, but also treat that too. You can also, again, bias it to one side. So Ninja, I'll get you to cross one hand over the other and reach across. So again, another way to assess lengthening of the lats there of one side too. Yeah, and some people, if they do have a big problem on one side, they might struggle to get as much range as the other. Okay, so it's a great test to do, also a good exercise and a good one to work on for some mobility. Okie dokie.
Good.
So there's just one more thing I want to go into a bit more detail with. I'll get you to stand up, please. We're going to go back to the standing extension. Okay, so I have mentioned a few times already about the pelvis and how much it tilts. So an easy one to think about is when we bend forward, yes, our spine can bend. I can bend like this. But if my pelvis rotates anteriorly, going forward like that, it gives me way more range, so it allows me to do that hip hinge like this. And so that means when I bend backwards, this also needs to rotate posteriorly to allow it to go. Because if I'm not moving this, if that's just stuck in place and I'm just moving back here, I'm going to crunch down on this. Okay, so for Ninja to be able to move a bit more into extension, I'm going to get you to stand a little bit wider apart, sorry.
Forwards.
Yep, that's it. Maybe a bit more narrow. Yep, yeah, that'll do. Okay, so we might just cue the movement first just to get an idea what we want to look for. So if we're going forwards, let's reach down towards the ground there. We're getting that anterior tilt. Okay, good. Come on up, back to the neutral. And then if we're going backwards, so hold on, let's come back to the middle. We're just going to cue this one first. We're going to see if you can rotate your pelvis here. That's it. So we're going to squeeze the glutes. Really try to tuck that tailbone under. So I can facilitate this. Come on back to the middle for a sec. And so Ninja can definitely improve a bit in this range. Yeah. But if we'll tuck that down and under and you go to lean back. Are you okay there, Ninja?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, come on back. Now, did you feel a stretch at all?
Nah, not too much.
Not too much stretch there?
It's more
Worry about my stability.
Yeah, you can lean back if you want or lean forward, whichever way you want to go.
Yeah, now I'm feeling like a compression in the lower back.
Compression in the lower back there. So what's happening there is, as you can see, he's actually not moving much in the pelvis there. Okay, so if that pelvis is not moving and his spine keeps moving, he's going to get compression there. Now, if we do that a bit too much, that's going to get a bit unhappy. And so that's how we can start to feel tight. So some people will do this as an exercise to help their back pain, but actually they're creating a bit more compression. You might have noticed this yourself. You might have been maybe given that by a therapist to try to even out some movement and get some mobility there. But as you're doing that, you're really just crunching down and putting pressure in those areas there. And it might be that, yes, you are getting pain and stiffness in this region there, but the cause of why you can't access that might be a bit further down. So if you watch me, if I do what Ninja was doing, which was just when I was getting back to here, keeping the pelvis still and coming back there, I can feel the compression here. So for me to go further into that, I need to rotate this posteriorly, which is this motion. That's anterior tilt, this is posterior tilt. Okay, so lengthening through the front, pulling that back, tucking the tailbone under. Okay, and that allows me now to move my spine further back. Now, if I want to go further than that, I have to rotate even more to be able to go this way. And the right feeling, again, the opening side, should be on the front. So when we move that way, we try not to crunch down on too much. We want to move this way, but elongate that way. So opening the front, the throat, the chest, the abs, the hip flexors, getting like a nice long bend going that way. Okay, so posteriorly tilting. Okay, so if it's something you're struggling with, especially kind of bending backwards, you're feeling that pinch there, your back might be okay. It might be the pelvis that's getting a bit stuck. So looking at that pelvis, remember the pelvis is sitting underneath the spine. If we want to travel this way, maybe we want to reach up and touch the ceiling and fix something up there, we need to also be able to support our back in the right position there. If not, then we don't have much time in that position. Okay? So things to think about there is not just the spine. Poor spine is actually really capable, moves and can compensate for a lot there, but what is the pelvis doing and how can we address that? So for you body workers out there, you might be treating into the spine there and getting some progress, releasing some of those tissues there, and you want to find out if there's any more things you can unblock, check around here, okay? How much can this person start to control and strengthen the ability to move in these different directions? If they want to go forward, can they go this way more? If they want to go back, can they go this way more? You know? So some clues there. Okie dokie. I think it's pretty full on. So try some of these tests out yourself. Take it easy as you go through them. Have a feel about where that pelvis is moving, where you want to feel the stretch as well. All right? Do it now. Get it done.
Done.